The PodBarber. Coming up on today's show.
So the customer sits in a chair looking at a reflection of themselves. I'm touching you, we're connecting physically, and if I can steer my presence and consciousness to connect with you on a level, you're able then to share with me some intimate details, some stories, some funnies, whatever you're getting up to, what good things happen in your life. Talking isn't all negative, man. There's so many positive things. It's like I'm fishing, and once I put a hook in you, you don't get thrown back in. You're staying with me. You're in my keep net. You're listening to the PodBarber. I'm taking conversations from my barber's chair deeper, further, and I'm champion of the chat. Men's health and well-being takes centre stage. With help from my guests sharing knowledge and experience, stories from their quests, we tackle the taboos. We're all learning together. It's emotional. We're just dudes. So feel the positive vibes we're sending out to you. It's simple. Join my tribe. Subscribe to the PodBarber. You, my friends, are not alone. Who's next, please? Well, I'll tell you who. We've got my partner in crime, Howie Fiddy, here today. I got you a noodle, man, because I know how much you love him. So here goes. So listen, man, without you as my partner, this PodBarber series would not be a starter. You're the digital master, you're my sonic crew. You help me to listen. I owe so much to you. Howie Fiddy, you're a true Samaritan. Generous with your time, such a thoughtful man. Inside the pod, you're the audio god. With yoga and exercise and mental health, success is your happiness. There's your wealth. Carry on camping it up, my friend. Me and you groove, making a wonderful blend. So from the depths of me with my gratitude, words can't explain my thanks to you. You're my pod dude, you're my audio bro. I'm the PodBarber, we make a compelling show. Like most of my guests, it started with hair. With my pal Howie Fiddy, there's nothing new there. So PodBarber fans, hear my main man's voice. You subscribe to me and him, and that's your choice. He's a professional, a true technical gent. And now he's going to get his ears properly bent. So let's share this mic and really listen to you too. Without you by my side, this shit would sound poo.
Mick, you're a poet and you don't know it. That is beautiful, thank you. So this podcast today is about turning the mic on you for a change and finding out what the PodBarber is all about. The man and the show. Let's start with these poems then, or noodles, as you so beautifully call them. It's something that you do for each of our guests on the podcasts, write an individual poem for them. How do you manage this stuff? You never knew you were a poet, did you?
No, I think, realistically for me, I set myself a goal and in the first lockdown to try and establish some new learning behaviours. So I thought, do you know what? I've always excused my lack of reading, apart from my girls' bedtime stories, because I did my listening was my reading. But I just thought that was a bit of an excuse. So my goal, what I put on my big whiteboard of things to do, was to learn to read properly, because I'm slightly dyslexic. So with that came this then pen-to-hand moment, because I started wanting to write, because when I was reading, I was getting inspired. And also, I had the idea to do a PodBarber.
Yeah, well, let's rewind a bit and find out more about the PodBarber. So firstly, what inspired you to want to become a barber?
I did a couple of jobs when I first started out in school, and all my bosses kept telling me to stop talking. And obviously, I like to apply myself with woodwork, with auto technician, mechanics to all you guys out there. But it wasn't really for me, and I couldn't see a further feature. I couldn't see it as something long term, and it would mean the capital I could earn as well. It wasn't just about that. It was about what can I get to earn to get out of the life that I was in. It wasn't a terrible childhood, a terrible younger day. It was just difficult at times. And I thought I needed to escape that, and I needed a vehicle. And I thought barbering, having seen my identical twin brother doing so well, knowing what he was doing,
he'd started already.
He started a year before me.
Right. What did you like about the fact he was a barber? What encouraged you to become one? What is it about that lifestyle that appealed to you?
At the time, I was looking for like adult companionship, different from what I'd had from school, and I could see that it opened up a world of nuance to me with different people. So we'd go down the pub with all these different people, and you sort of, there was a bit of swagger, you know, people were kind of cool.
When you say the people, do you mean the people working in the barber trade or the clients?
Okay, so yeah, no, both really. But really it was the like these people who were the barbers seemed to be kind of cool, and people gravitated around them. And I'm like, yeah, man, that's cool. And I enjoyed not just the idea of that, but the fact that I could meet, befriend, and dive quite deep into different people and extend my friendship group. And I thought, man, look at all the cash that you can earn. Like what you could do in exchange for that. And I had this sense I wanted to travel. And I just thought I can travel with my clippers.
How does travelling come into it then? Because general consensus is that you have a barber shop and that's where we go to have a haircut. That's where you work. So why would you travel with it?
I don't. It wasn't about travelling with being a barber. It was more about travelling with me, finding out, discovering, you know, like the wider world. I couldn't even use a bus. I was a complete signed up moron, man. So I needed to push myself a little bit further. And actually, funny enough, now that you've asked me that, and I'm thinking about that, that's where I first wrote. I used to write a email to my customers who were following my progress. I went away for a year, and I used to sign it off from the Barbers Abroad Association, and it was a little noodle. Actually, it was a noodle that was explaining where I'd been, the wonders that I was seeing. And if you can imagine from the eyes of a moron how open that they were, and all of these new influences and all these different people and cultures and tastes, flavors, smells, scents, the world, the environment, the culture, the calamity of some of these places, their politics, everything. Man, if you're a sponge, you need to get your backpack on and get out there and see it. And that's what I did. Yeah, man, you can count me in with the backpacking. I've no doubt you and me will hit the road at some point with this show. So let's delve into your psyche a bit as Little Mickey. Sounds like you were keen to be away from home, travelling, experiencing, you know, learning. Was there anything going on in your younger years that created that need to be free? Yeah, for me, there wasn't as much support in people's crisis from within their homes. I think back in those days, particularly men, we're talking about it still to this day, struggled to speak up. We had a fractured period in our lives through alcoholism and some, appalling illnesses that were poured upon my parents. They were good people, but they were mixed up, and they found addiction in the wrong thing, and that leaves you isolated, that leaves you alone. So it gave me a lived experience, but I didn't have a way of accessing, without barbering, how to talk about it. Was that an issue for you then, not being able to talk and share your feelings? It was an issue for and still would be if my mum listens to this. She would still struggle to collate that I suffered like that, although she knows that was the case. But that is the reality of addiction and mental health abuse and watching people die and going through these things, trying to help. I never hold a grudge. I love my parents. My dad passed away. That's the penultimate drink that you take. It's that was the reason he died. And I'm sorry that he was unable to find conversation is the cure. And that's all I did. Talk about it. Conversation is the cure. And I guess that's how you've come to this realization that you need to do something to help others through the PodBarber series. How are you going to help people? I'm going to firstly let them in on the world of barbering and how intimate that you can build a relationship with good quality conversation. So we're just going to learn some stuff. So how does that work? How is it that people are so willing to talk at the barbers, be open? So the customer sits in a chair looking at a reflection of themselves. That's what I find really interesting when I'm in the barber's chair. I'm touching you. We're connecting physically. And if I can steer my presence and consciousness to connect with you on a level, you're able then to share with me like some intimate details, some stories, some funnies, whatever you're getting up to, what good things happen in your life. Talking isn't all negative, man. There's so many positive things. I think the key is that you do that and then you come back and you repeat it if you liked it.
Yeah.
So my customers, it's like I'm fishing. And once I put a hook in you, you don't get thrown back in. You're staying with me. You're in my keep net. And I really need that as well because, like all people, I want to collect as many friends as possible, and especially the people that I'm in tune with. And there's so many things that you can learn just even by listening. And that's the point of a conversation. It's not one way. I'm not perfect at it and I'm working on it and you're helping me with it, but I'm present to learn and I want to get better.
Learning and sharing that learning with others. And I guess that's where the PodBarber shows come in. So tell me more about what we're to expect from each episode.
I have a conversation with one of these amazing people and we're all amazing. I reach out to them to say that I think that their story is kind of cool. I think that they're interesting. And I ask them if they'll come and have a PodBarber interview as a guest. But the point of that conversation is to frame the chat and to steer through the problems that I know that these people may well have had, because I know these people. It's the life story. We start off, dribbling and needing someone to nurture us. We take those first steps. We keep on marching through. We're picking up little life skills, different things. We know what makes us feel good, makes us feel bad. So, the better part of us wants to go to the good. And this is what these people do when they come to the PodBarber show. They come into the good and they're doing it for someone else. So they may well have had trauma. They may well have had an ecstatic experience in a sport or a meditational experience or a travel experience or their job, their life experience, whatever it may well be. But the point of what we do is we show that we're able to be confident, unpolished in our conversation, to learn, to exchange. It's a duel. We'll sometimes jump in over the top of each other. It's not perfect, but that's reality. So we're very much relatable. This is conversations outside of the barber's chair, but it could be outside of the pub. It could be outside of your gym. It could be outside Starbucks, Costa's, or something a lot better than one of those places, a little intimate place that's more organic. And it's about sharing your experience, your knowledge. But the real key is we've all got a story, and it's about being able to view your story and see how that may well be able to impart some positivity or some hope for somebody else. Because that person's got a story, but they just might not know how to have a chat about it. They might not be ready to have a chat about it. But by listening and learning, they might feel more confident because we're not superstars, we're just normal dudes chewing the fat.
Championing the chat.
Do you know what? I suppose the most important thing is, I feel compelled to, I know it deep inside me that how much benefit that I get from talking and listening.
Yeah.
And I see and I hear the negative narrative that surrounds men's mental health. And I actually think it's a bit of a white elephant that men can't talk up. And actually, I want to demystify that. If we keep saying this time and time again, guess what? That becomes a recorded message. And to me, that is a negative thing. And this is about proving that men can talk up, because I'm fucking talking up. You're talking up, and so are all these guests. And yes, it takes a bit of courage at times, but once you get the flow going, once there's a trust between two people, we can expand on that. We can magnify that. And there in its nutshell is a positive seed to sow. And then we can harvest and reap the benefits. But not only us, it's plural, it's for all. And that's the whole point of it. We need to demystify the stigma that surrounds mental health, how people talk about it, by talking about it. Don't tell people they can't talk. Don't tell men that they can't talk up, because it's bollocks, because you can, because we are, every day.
So it's imperative that we try and stamp out that negative narrative and I guess give people a chance to gain the confidence to talk.
For me, I think people, because there's such a powerful message that the baton of negativity has been passed generation to generation, and it's about time that someone run a different direction with it. And I think that there is an established movement to do that. It's going to sound clunky from some people because there's a box-ticking exercise. But I feel the depth of the importance of this, and these guests that come on the show do. So our clunkiness will be from the fact that we're not well-oiled professionals.
Yeah.
But the reality will be that we are showcasing by doing it. We're actionable people that are deciding that there is something that we can do for someone else. This isn't a selfish, ego-driven, I'm the fucking PodBarber. Yeah, there's that element of let's make it sound cool, let's have it succinct is the word that I didn't know until you told me it. But the reality is that people come on here to champion the chat in the hope that there's data that we'll never collect, i.e., someone didn't commit suicide. Someone was able to talk about their problems way before they hit the pinnacle of mental health crisis.
Can that be done simply by talking about the everydayness of life?
No, I think it takes a long time. I think it takes a behavioural change. I think it takes someone deciding that they're ready to do that. I think you need help, but it's not up to everyone else to make you happy. You've got to want to be happy yourself. And I think you've got to want to challenge yourself in life. And there will be some people that never champion the chat. And I feel sorry for them. But perhaps that's the lesson that they need to learn on their journey. I believe, not in reincarnation. I believe that you look like your mum and dad. They look like someone. We come from far ago, man. We're just moving through the cosmic, sonic areas, our material, my body, your body, everyone's bodies. It's just your material. I value my wealth by my health. And there's no health without mental health.
Absolutely right. So let's kind of summarise, get a summary of you, Mickey the barber, the PodBarber.
So I've used conversation all my life. We all do. I've then had a pretty good practice at it. I've been a barber for 25 years, but I'm a curious man. I've learned different languages. I've learned lots of different things of how I can communicate with my face, with my posture, with my effort in how I approach a conversation. But I'm 40 years old. I have so many lived experiences, and now I am a storyteller, but I'm trying to tell someone else's story. I could sit here and just talk my whole life story, but I don't wish to do that because I would rather give those intimate moments from other people's and show how that you can guide someone else to talk. I've learned to talk. You're gonna get to know that throughout this series. You're gonna hear my little quips and where I come in. So we're gonna build on getting to know me. So there's no rush for that. But there is a rush to get men to talk up.
There's a real urgency.
There is, and especially currently in this time, we have to accept the fact that we could all end up being locked down again. We could all end up being isolated. The scourge of loneliness is the thing that hangs over us like heavily. It's a dark cloud. But from every dark cloud, there is a silver lining. And that might just be that it's the motivation or the inspiration, which I prefer that as a word, that you go, do you know what? I've listened to these guys and they sound like they've had some shit in their lives, but they did these kind of things. So I'm trying to thread through some cues, some opportunities to go, well, we're not just saying, oh yeah, just by talking. We're actually going to help you. We're going to help you. We're going to leave little clues for you to follow. If you want to pick up and do some of these things, you're looking after your mind, you're looking after your body, you're looking after your nutrition, your hydration, you're keeping your mind active. You're keeping your mind active because we're going to give you a lot of knowledge. And you're going to be able to come back on a PodBarber series show, any show, and you're going to find nuggets of wisdom that you didn't get the first time round. You're going to be harvesting our stories forevermore. And we're going to keep on perpetually planting them everywhere for you to come and listen to, because that's what it's all about.
Mick, you're positivity and determination to help others and help others help themselves is absolutely inspirational. I tell you, this is the pod series that nobody can afford to miss out on. Thanks for coming in, Mick, and I'm going to leave you with the PodBarber message that you leave all the guests with, which will no doubt hear you say 100 more times: peace, love, and power to your day. The PodBarber is a That Media and Design production, with Mickey at the mic and Howie at the controls. Just search the PodBarber on social and let's get connected.